That's right.
That's right.
My favorite part.
Alright, so why don't we go ahead and get straight to it? Welcome to Ask You Television Children. And can you go ahead and introduce yourself? What's your names?
You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Cody Williams. I'm the father and husband of Dixie Williams, and the father of Tilly and Tally.
And I'm the mother, Dixie
And you
Williams.
have a child, right?
That's correct.
And how old is this child?
I got a 4-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, or 2.5-year-old.
And what child are we concerned about today?
Both of them.
Tilly and Tally.
Okay, and can you tell me the ages of those children?
4 and 3 months.
4 and 3 months. And recently you had an event, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the beginning of this event? What year did it take place? Or what month?
It was this past July 17th. I had just had a baby in May, the 3-month-old, and I started going through some postpartum experience, and so I dialed 911 on myself for an ambulance, so to speak, or to have somebody come out here and and help me figure out what was going on. And
so you got a little bit of I mean, you could say that's kind of natural. A lot of women have a little bit of postpartum. Usually it's not severe. So you had an episode, and you simply made a call for some help, some attention, possibly you just wanted to talk with somebody.
yeah, basically, my husband said he didn't, see what I was seeing, so I just wanted to get a second opinion. And, I thought, well, what do you do in an emergency? You call 911 or an ambulance.
Okay, so when did this happen? When did the cops come to your house?
It was July 17th.
Was this during the daytime or the nighttime?
It was the nighttime, and it wasn't my house. It was a friend's house in another city.
Okay, so can you explain to me a little bit about what happened when they came?
It was very blurry to me. I was in and out of, I guess, being coherent. But I just remember them being very aggressive with me, the cop that showed up. And I didn't understand why, and I had my daughter in my hand. She was scared. She was terrified. And I kept telling him to calm down, and he pulled his gun on me. And, at that point, we were no longer in the hallway. We were in the back bedroom of my friend's house. And he was like, I'm going to shoot you. And I was like, are you really going to shoot me with my daughter in my hands, or tase me or something? I think it was a taser. And it slipped off of me because he had it like around my neck area, and it slipped off my neck and it hit my daughter. And then he put it back and looked like, I don't know, it was as white as a ghost, and he put it back in its holster. And my friend ran in and got the baby from my husband, and I handed my daughter, my 4-year-old, to my husband. And
so before you continue, while this was happening, was anybody watching?
My husband was right there.
Was your husband there, or who was
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I witnessed the whole thing, and her cousin did too. I mean, a good majority of it.
And when the cop came, was it just one cop, or was it a sheriff, or?
It was one police officer from the Bellevue City Police Department.
There were several sheriffs outside, but he was the only one who entered, and we only have a body cam from him.
And when that officer came, were they immediately aggressive? They weren't trying to de-escalate the situation?
No, not at all.
My friend.
Can you explain the law enforcement? Can you explain a little bit of their attitude and how you felt during the situation?
Well, I can explain it from my point of view. He came in very authoritative. So he was like, right off the bat, let the kid go, put your hands behind your back. There wasn't like, hey, man, what's going on? You know, what's happening? How you feeling? What's your name? None of that. It was just right into, you know, drop the kid, put your hands behind your back type of situation. So it was
So
almost
when the law enforcement came in, they on their mind, they got a phone call. So instead of coming to aid and ask her or talk to her, he came in drawing the taser.
Yeah, right away.
he came in like let her go, and then he dropped the taser.
He told me he was gonna snatch my kid out of his hands and shoot me. And
so he was making demands.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't listening to me. I kept telling him, "Calm down. I called you out here. There's nothing wrong. I just, I need you to talk to me."
Right. So how did the situation go after he pulled the taser out? What happened after that?
After he pulled the taser out, her cousin came through the hallway because she heard the situation, and she asked me to hand the baby over to her. And when I handed the baby over to her, then my wife released our 4-year-old to me. And then from there on, then he, detained her.
I remember
from the
he
front.
tried to, and I don't know why I said this because I just had a baby, so I'm not pregnant. Maybe in my mind I thought I was still pregnant at that moment, but he went to handcuff me, and I said, "Wait a minute, you don't know if I'm pregnant." And I think he asked my husband something, and then he handcuffed me in the front, and I said, "Please, let's don't do this in front of my children." And so we went out this back door that was right there. And I sat right down on the steps, and I'm like, "Just talk to me. Why aren't you guys just talking to me?" And
Right.
and there was police everywhere. I asked for an ambulance because they were all looking at me and telling me, and they were laughing at me. It was like really degrading. It's like, I didn't know I called you here to make fun of me.
So they were using a lot of intimidation.
For something I called in. I called 911. I asked for help. I didn't say, "Hey, come out here and beat me up and try to shoot me with a kid in my hands and laugh at me."
Now, I was reading some of the paperwork. I'm going to be showing the public the paperwork. Now, in this paperwork, they make a lot of claims of not having a home, claims of drug abuse, claims of mental health. There's so many claims. I was kind of shocked because why isn't there an arrest? If you guys are such horrible parents, why did they make an arrest? And then when I continue reading the paperwork, it shows that the risk factors are low, which doesn't make any sense. If you're claiming this parent has all these problems, why is it a low risk? And when I'm reading the paperwork, I also noticed it looked like hearsay. There wasn't really any proof in there.
Well, if you read the second page of the shelter order, it has a box there, and it says, it asks the investigator who did this investigation, Yovanka Kennard, it asks her if she did her diligence search, and she checked the box, no diligence search.
Right. And another thing, so basically, they put you in the paramedics and they took you to the hospital.
Yes, I was Baker acted.
Right. And how long were you in there?
So that was the 17th. On the 18th, maybe 2 in the morning, I was transferred to a hospital in Gainesville where I stayed until the 21st and got evaluated by mental health doctors. And then I was released to my husband and children on my, that's what it says on my discharge paper. I was released to my husband and children.
Okay, so they checked you out, and was there any concerns, or what was the diagnosis?
It was PTSD and postpartum. Brief.
Okay, there's PTSD and postpartum. So obviously it wasn't severe enough to keep you there, right? Is that why they just released you?
Yeah,
Sent you back home?
Yeah, they said that there's no need for further treatment.
And so when you came home, what happened a few days later?
Actually, it wasn't a few days later. It was the same day. My insurance paid for an Uber from the hospital in Gainesville, Florida, for about 3 hours away to Altamont Springs, where we resided, by Orlando. And I got there. I was there for maybe 20 minutes, and there was helicopters surrounding my house and sheriffs and all these people.
Wow, and what time of the day was this?
Around
7:30.
It was around like 7:30. They first showed up before my wife got home, and I didn't know she was on the way home. And they showed up and they're like, "We have this order," and I thought it was an order to come and take a look at my kids and make sure my kids are okay. But lo and behold, it was an order to get custody of my kids, and they'd never even been to my house before.
But in that affidavit that they used to get my children, they said that this is how they headed it. They said it's actually right here, and it says hold on. It says
And this was 7 p.m. or in the morning?
no, PM.
Well, when she actually wrote the document.
That kind of blows away the theory of being homeless, right? That they obviously came to your house.
Yeah. Exactly.
And not only that, I sent him a 96-page document.
Well, that was after.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. This order, though, it says that they received an abuse report concerning the child, Tilly Williams. Not even my baby, but they took my baby too. Who was last known to me in physical and legal custody of the mother and father. The mother and father are aware the department are trying to locate the child and have taken the child and evaded the CPI and law enforcement to avoid investigation. The parents have refused to disclose their location and the location of the child. Do you want me to read the rest? Because I can dispute every one of it.
It's only one page.
We can fade that in and out of the video, and people can look at that
Okay.
when you're talking about the story. But I wanted to ask you, how long has it been since they took your child?
The 21st of July. And we still don't have them. We've only seen our child once since then.
So it's been a little bit over a month or two.
Yes, it's been almost 2 months.
Right. And can I get both of your answers regarding how do you feel about not being around your child, not having your child? How do you feel in your heart and how do you feel in your mind?
I mean, I feel like for me, it's like Twilight Zone. I feel like I'm in a third world country that, one day you wake up and you have your children, the next day, your wife calls for help and your kids are gone. That's basically the way I feel about it. And it's like, I hope people wake up one day because this is how easy it is. We haven't done anything. And, the reports will show beyond a reasonable doubt, we've never met this woman before. She's a complete stranger. And all the allegations that were written in these documents, they can't be proven. And, one day you wake up, the next day. So I feel really, weird about it. My wife's probably more emotional.
It's shocking, and obviously we're starting to plan and work and we're going to start going after it. What about her, Dixie? Can you tell me how you feel since the child's been ripped away from your arms?
I guess I kind of feel like a mother bear would feel in her situation. I don't know how to feel right now. I actually don't know how to feel. I'm pretty numb.
I mean, are you eating? Are you sleeping?
No, I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating. I'm not doing pretty much anything. And every morning I wake up to something else going on with my children, whether it be pink eye, or they're sick, they got RSV, they got this and that. And my children have never been sick with me before, you know. There's no records of my children ever being to any kind of doctor for anything, because there's nothing wrong with my children.
And another thing too I want to talk about was the visitation. So right now, the children aren't in foster home yet, right? But they're trying to.
So yeah, a friend of ours has them at their home, and CPI is trying to go into their house and take my children and put them in foster care. Even though there's us that nothing's wrong with. They have nothing against us. They have nothing against anybody in my family. But still, they're just refusing. They're refusing to follow the law.
So where's the child at right now? The child with your friends or relatives?
Yes, with a friend of ours.
And how's the situation with that right now? Are CPS willing to leave the child there, or are they trying to take the child?
Our friends are having some issues with their jobs, and they're just having a hard time taking time off for our children. So we want to move them to our mother's house. And these people are literally telling them, they had a meeting the other day with all of us on the phone and via Zoom. And they're like, well, it could take up to 60 days. They're going to have to go to homes that nobody knows them in, and this and that, and blah, 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 until your family and friends can get approved. But that's not the law. And so, you can't do that. It's called kinship placement. They go to friends and family first.
And right now, the case isn't in family law. It's in dependency court.
Yes.
And do you have a lawyer that's got any paperwork?
No, we've actually chosen to represent ourselves because we haven't done anything. And the whole thing is, for us personally, we feel as if hiring an attorney in the same system is only going to create this whole ball of money. And I feel like it's all about money. So
unless you get some help and figure out some of the laws, then we can actually call the hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can go in there and start filing stuff.
Well, Chapter 39 is what they go by, okay? That's about children and families. So Chapter 39 in the Florida State Statutes is that. Now, if you scroll down to number 9 on Section A, it's going to say it's illegal to file false reports.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, so when they took the child, they took the child's in another county. Like, was it the law enforcement in that county that took the child, or did they take the child to another county?
No, they actually filed a court order in their county that we don't reside in, and they called up our sheriffs and our CPI workers from our county and sent them over. They never even came to our house from the other county. Their cops didn't come, their sheriffs, their judges, their lawyers, their CPI. None of them came into our county. They called our county's government and asked them to do them a favor and go into our house and take our children out of their beds. And so then these people get there, and I'm sure they have body camera footage. They're apologizing to us. Our sheriffs, our CPI workers, they're like, we wouldn't be doing this. They just walked into a $600,000 house, and took my kids out of their beds.
All right.
The whole thing I get about it is, if you hire an attorney, it's like it's like agreeing to everything they just, made claims against you about. You know what I mean? And that's how they go about it. And when you call the attorneys, they're like, oh, give us this much money and you'll get your kids back, but you have to do this, you have to do that. And it's like, well, what about holding these people accountable for?
No, nobody wants to
For
talk about
money?
it.
Like, let's just get down to the bottom of it, and let's prove what this woman or man's allegations were first before we get to spending money. And yeah, the whole thing is like, spend money and we'll give you your kids back.
A lot of the court system, the whole system period in general is about money. It's not necessary. Well, it's not about helping people and helping the citizens. It's about, in order for them to keep making money, they have to keep the court cases going and going. So yeah, if you were to pay a lawyer, that lawyer, their first allegiance is to that judge.
Yeah. Oh, and they'll keep it going for 2 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Even if they know you won dead out, you're going to get your kids back. Here you are 2 years later, or a year later, or whatever. You get your kids back, and you spent $5,000, $10,000, and the people that made the claim, nothing happens to them. It just keeps on going and keeps on going.
Right. So I remember when we were talking about the dependency court a little bit, and I want to help you try to follow some stuff, because a lot of lawyers, even if you were to hire them, they wouldn't tell you what forms to file, what motions to file. So you were telling me about the case. They came in one county, left to another county. Now, obviously, there's a form, a pre-applicatory challenge. That's if you need to change judges. You know what I mean? So if we got problems with the judge, they're not giving me visitation, or they're believing false reports. There's no evidence, it's all hearsay. We have to start reporting to the commission, but we can also switch that judge with a pre-applicatory challenge. Now, there's another thing. We're talking about a JD 180. The JD 180 is specifically for dependency court, and it is used to terminate jurisdiction of court orders. So if there's a court order right now, and it sucks, you don't like it, you can't see your kid, or you don't have your kid, and you believe there's no reason for that, well, yeah, we need to file that JD 180. We need to go in there and file that and get them to prove what they're talking about, because if not, ultimately, it won't matter what you file, because if they're going to violate your rights, we're going to have to get enough law and take it from that court to the federal court.
Correct. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because if not, you'll be doing this till the child's 18.
Exactly. And we don't even live in Florida.
Yeah.
Like we have our family's house that we reside in Altamont Springs, that we have, our own rooms and everything, and a lease and everything if we need be. But at the same time, we were only down here to get my husband's daughter because of another court case in another county that he's a non-offending parent for, and they still haven't.
It's lingered on for almost a year. Over a year now.
Over a year now.
As a non-offending parent.
You guys are in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm in California, but it's cool you're in Florida because I see people posting from Florida. They're posting in different pages, and so, there's people in Florida looking for help, looking for a movement, looking for something, anything to grasp onto, because they're all having trouble with children. It's happening across the nation. And so, I respect you, and it takes a lot of love sometimes to go live, to tell your story. It's a passionate story. Any story about a mother and a father loving their child, and that child gets took. That's a passionate story, and that story needs to be told, because this needs to stop. Basically, America is just being broken apart. Families are being stripped of their dignity. America is just, it's in very, very bad shape. America's very, very weak. A country is only as strong as children, And if our children are being abused and taken and ripped out of our arms, you know, there's a lot of parents committing suicide. There's parents killing themselves, you know, because they haven't seen their child, you know. So I honor you and I respect you because, you know, you guys are fighters, you know, and that's what you have to do from here on out. You have to start fighting.
Well, that's what they're basing this off of. They said that I was squeezing my daughter so tight she couldn't breathe. Well, wouldn't I be in jail for that?
Right. Yeah, or, I mean, there's so many things about that story right there. I mean, for one, if that was true, and somebody was squeezing a child to where they couldn't breathe, I mean, what kind of officer are you? You just gonna stand there and watch?
Yeah.
Well, he never even wrote it. He never even wrote it in his report.
That he pulled the taser out on me and stuck it to
This
my
was
head.
a private conversation between him and the DCF officer when he denied to, you know, enter into evidence of him pulling out a taser in the first place. So when he did add that, then they're like, okay, what are we going to do now?
Right. And so all the problems right now that you're having are obviously with law enforcement because they're taking the orders and obeying the judge orders. So you got law enforcement, you got.
Well, here's the crazy thing. And
CPI.
yeah, well, here's the crazy thing. Like, this CPI just walks into a courthouse, files this affidavit right here, right? And writes all this stuff. Now, a judge doesn't ask her for evidence. He just goes ahead, who's an on-duty judge for the night, and signs the paper.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's something that they're doing a lot now. You know, I've heard stories of parents getting kids took based on a past allegation that wasn't even true. It was found, you know,
They did some of that too in the shelter order.
Yeah, the shelter order is littered with 8-year-old, 7-year-old possible stuff.
So they also said after she files the affidavit and obtains custody of my kids, then she writes the shelter order the next day after has my kids. At the time I wasn't a big prove myself to the public type of person. But now I see that it's not just about me. If they're doing this to me, they're doing this to other people. And as
the more you come out, people come out and start telling your story, you know, the more we rip the curtains off, you know what I mean, and reveal what's really going on because the media isn't covering this. They're not going to go to your house and say, hey, you know, they took your child, they put a taser to you, you know, they're not going to warn the American public.
no.
So we have to do it.
Yes, we the people need to start standing up for we the people.
No, there's been times that we've talked to the media too, and the reporters wanted to put our story out there. And then they go in and they talk to their higher ups, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I was told we can't put your story out there.
Wow.
Oh yeah, this has even happened with banks, man. I've proved people.
The corruption goes high.
He's right. It goes very, very high. Like, the amount of people.
Yeah, and a lot of it started from Facebook. So to be honest with you, I mean, a lot of like people just say things. I mean, even our horses were investigated like 40 times. We spent so much money until finally they put up a public notice. They're like, if anybody sends another, you know, something about these people, about their horses, we're going to start filing civil suits against you. It's little things like that. And I mean,
in my opinion, I was blown away when I heard about the officer pulling out the taser while she still had the child in her hand.
Well,
and when you look at it, that's child abuse.
Exactly. Like, and this is why I think this is happening. Okay, I think that maybe the CPI and the officer are friends, and they're trying to cover for the officer for putting a taser on me with my daughter, and then it hit my daughter. Like, what if the trigger would have accidentally pulled when that gun hit my daughter in the back of her head?
Well, yeah, they could have killed the child.
Yeah.
But they didn't say this in the police report. They didn't say this. They didn't even say that I called 911. They're leaving that out. They're calling it a suspicious incident.
Yeah, they said it was called in as a suspicious incident. They never even mentioned that my wife called 911 on herself at all. They just completely leave that out of there. And then from the moment he walked in the door, from the moment his taser was out of his holster, it was probably 30 seconds. If that.
Wow.
Yeah, from the
So,
He was on a power trip.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
like he was going in full guns drawn, and he was gonna take me down. He did not care what the situation was. He didn't care to even find out the situation. He just
no,
attacked me.
he cared. He knew he was in trouble. And he just decided not to mention it. Not in the police report.
You know the name of that officer?
Freeman.
His number?
Yeah, Officer Freeman. I'll never forget it.
Do you have the police report?
Yeah, I even got the police report. I can bring the police report up.
I'll add his badge number to the film later when we upload it.
Yep.
Because like the way I feel, like I'm very passionate about the law, you know, and I like that because I see a lot of injustice, you know, and you know, Martin Luther King used to say, he said, what happens to one directly happens to all indirectly.
Sorry, what did you say?
So if they can come to your house, take your child, put a taser to your head, they'd do it to anybody.
Exactly. So, but see, they could, right? But imagine everybody they've already done it to. All the children that are misplaced from their families and their loving homes. And I'm not saying that these people don't need to go in people's houses and take children away. I'm saying they need to do it to people that have to have help. They need help. These children need help. They shouldn't be in these situations. My children, though, have everything that they need in this world. Okay, they're very happy children. My children aren't abused. There's no allegations on me for child abuse. I've never been arrested for child abuse. I've never physically, mentally, or anything assaulted any children on the planet. And I have background checks done on me by the FBI, and I've been approved for home studies to be the new mom for my husband's daughter. Like, these things were just approved, like, not even 10 days before this incident occurred, and this lady said all these crazy things about me that aren't true.
So, how many times have you went to court so far?
Once.
And when is your next court date?
On the 13th.
On the 13th. And what would you like to as support? Because obviously this is something where citizens can engage in. You know, if other people hear your story, you know, they can help you out and maybe show up to a protest with you or something like that.
His name, I would love that. His name is, now he only writes G. Freeman here. Gregory, he is CPL Gregory Freeman, and his badge number is, I'm just making sure I say the right badge number, 532. So here, let me see. I don't know if I can put it up.
That's cool. I'll keep the copy of it.
Okay.
I'll put it on there. I'll put it on the film later.
All right.
So we got the law enforcement. We got his name.
And it even says case closed. Huh?
I'm really concerned about the law enforcement because they could have killed your child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they could have killed me and my child.
Well, that's why they're going to the extent that they are.
That's why they're trying to
That's
cover
why
this
they
up.
figured in case we said anything, they might as well just push the blame onto us. You know, as opposed him being outed for the way he handled the situation.
Well, I also think what happened is he did do a diligent search, and he saw that we do stand up for ourselves and our rights. And he saw anything that he's seen in his system, he knew he was screwed and that he better hurry up and find a way out of this. And the only way to do that is to coincide a story with a CPI person he probably worked with a lot. He probably works with these people a lot. You know, I got your back type of thing, you know, when really he took an oath to protect us, not her.
You know, when they come and take kids, sometimes they play dumb, like they're real cool, and then they'll just snatch the child. You know, other times they come in aggressive immediately.
Isn't this domestic terrorist?
There's a lot of, well, that's why I like to talk about the law enforcement aspect, because the law enforcement, they're supposed to enforce the law. You know, now sometimes they don't enforce the law the right way. They do it backwards. You know, they'll use the law against you, but they won't use any laws to protect you.
Well, what happened? When did they become law enforcement and not?
Nowhere in any of these reports do they mention our child at all, except for a brief moment that my child was there. They never mention anything about abuse, nothing, and it just says in one report, was advised DCF would be taking a report. That's it. But there's nothing else to connect it to their story.
But on the affidavit she filed, it says that somebody made an inadequate supervision.
Reason so tight. This whole deal about
there's no
report. My child so
there's
tight.
No report.
It's not even in the police report. And when they asked, they're like, "Okay, well, can you tell us whether or not you feel as if Dixie was a harm to her child?" Well, he says, "I can't say whether she was or isn't because of her condition." That's like saying I don't know.
Yeah,
he's.
You know what I mean?
What he's trying to say is there's accusations and hearsay in the CPI report, but when you look at the abuse report,
it doesn't say the same thing. No, it doesn't say the same thing. That never said in here that my daughter couldn't breathe from me squeezing her too tight.
Never says it.
It doesn't say that.
She just made
but
it up.
She said that night, what she.
Get some video if you can get it either from the cops or
we already got it.
We got the video.
We got the video.
But for sure I would send it to the internal affairs, you know, for excessive force.
I tried, I believe I have this on video. I tried to make a complaint and they refused to take my complaint.
Yeah, see, that's a form of harassment right there. When you have the legal right to make a report on anybody, even a government official, and a lot of people, they'll call the cops to make a report. The cops, they won't take the report.
I went down to the CPI building because I tried to make a report on the phone. I tried to actually call 1-800-96-ABUSE on the lady that called because I have video of her abusing her children on Facebook. And they asked me, does she work for DCF? And I said, yeah. The lady literally on the phone, and I believe we could probably get this, it's a recorded conversation. She says, oh, I can't take a report on our own agents, and hung up the phone on me.
Yep. And we also have this here, which is an order rescinding their order to take the children the very next day.
Yeah, so what it is
sending in cancel.
Hold on. So what they did was they made this affidavit to get our kids. Then the next day they pulled us into an emergency hearing, okay? And then when we hung up the phone, you could see the times of our hearing compared to the times they filed this order. They actually redacted the take into custody affidavit. So now they just have a shelter order.
That's it. So everything's
they
all
have
based
no
upon the
evidence.
shelter order.
The purpose behind CPS redacting information is because they know that information, they could be sued.
Exactly.
But we got it.
Yep. And they wouldn't give it to us. We literally had to go to the courthouse. On the
like making film and putting our voices out there for the child. I mean, being a voice for a child, in my opinion, it's like a love bomb. It's a love grenade. It's a love missile. And evil hates it, you know, because when you strike, man, you know what I mean? And, you know, the greatness in America is the right to protest for rights.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of
I have a dream.
there's really no organizations, you know, there's a lot of nonprofits that are fake that get money to actually do what they do, but they're not helping nobody, because if they did, they wouldn't be getting any government funding. So it's really important that this video gets out, that we share it, people share it, they hear it, see it, because we need to get an army over there in Florida. This way, when you show up to your court hearing, we have a unit, we have people, you know, we need soldiers.
So here's
Well,
another thing. They
you know-
won't let us come to the courthouse. They're not having court anymore. They're having it only via video, and that's a problem.
And I've been the only army here in Florida for standing up for people's rights. Like, honestly, at least in Palm Beach County, around here, like, every time I go into court, I file papers, I stand up for my rights, and everybody's just looking at me like, what's going on? And it's like, this is what happens when you stand up for yourself. I mean,
If you could say something right now to the world, and especially to the Florida residents, what would you say to them regarding encouragement, you know, to help the kids and join the movement?
There's nothing to be scared of. Okay, these people are not scary. You're letting them scare you. If you just stand up and fight for your children, don't let people walk all over you. These are your children. God gave you these children. These people didn't give you didn't adopt your children, and you don't have to adopt your children. Okay? If you don't stand up, who's going to stand up?
in all their verbiage, they always say, we may.
By staying silent, you let them stay loud.
They always say, we could, or we may, or we might. This is what they say, like, when you're standing up for yourself. And this is what scares people. Like, when you're trying to stand up for yourself, they'll say, well, you could be, held in contempt of court. Well, the word is in the proof. Well, you could be. But if you stand up for yourself, guess what?
You sit back. You're really
You know?
close to them.
Yeah, they're threatening, intimidating, manipulating, dominating.
All the time.
Yeah, those are forms of bullying, intimidation. Those are evil, wicked ideas that come from evil hearts.
Yeah. And it's only when you try to stand up for yourself. That's the whole thing. It's only when you're really, and honestly, the only reason people like us stand up for ourselves is because we know we didn't do anything. So we want to force them to prove it. When they know that they can't prove it, that's when, the whole charade, begins. Basically.
And a lot of times, too, they do a lot of threatening because they want people to stop. They want people to stop fighting for their child.
Well, people need to stop being scared.
Yeah, when you look at statistics, it shows that as soon as you take a child away from a parent, they're more likely to end up doing drugs, they're more likely to have mental problems, they're more likely to, end up in gangs, end up in prison. So
End up with the wrong guy, maybe, if they're girls,
yeah, literally it's a social experiment. Kids are not made to be took away from a loving parent.
True.
And when they do it, they'll say, oh, it's detrimental. We can't take the child away because the child's happy now where the child's at.
Well, now they're saying they're not using my daughter as the reason why they have opened this case. They're actually stating that they're concerned for mine and his mental health. So first it was my child and her breath to breathe. Then that was dropped off. Then they tried to say we were drug addicts. So me and my husband went and paid for a drug test and submitted it to them because they said that we had to wait for their drug test. No, here's drug test. I'll pee in a cup every day for you. So now that we got past that problem, let's go to the next problem. So they took that out of the thing. Now it's not that we're a drug addict. It's not that I abuse my children. Now it's just our mental stability. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How do you form a case against somebody's mental stability and take their children? Everybody on this planet has got some kind of a mental issue. You cannot go around taking people's children because they have a mental issue.
I mean, if you take a child away, how is that not going to affect the parent unless that parent just doesn't love the child?
Exactly.
and then they act all confused when you act out on it.
And then they're like, stop calling the court.
You're crazy because you have emotions.
Yeah, why are you getting so emotional?
Yeah, that's what they said to me.
Crazy.
And they even told me they were going to hang up the phone. I said, how dare you?
For asking questions.
You're going to tell me you're going to hang up the phone on me after you just snatched my kids out of their bed in the middle of the night, and you're going to tell me to calm down? No, I'm not bowing down to you guys. This isn't like, oh, I'm like King Tut, and you guys got to do what I tell you to do. No. That's not how this life works, okay? And I'm not scared of any of them. Okay, and I even personally messaged this lady, and I asked her, I don't know who you think you are, but you don't just get to go into a courthouse and lie about me and my family. You should have did that diligent search before you made lies on us, because you would have known not to lie about me and my family.
That's right. You
And
know?
this person, you're talking about the person that wrote the report.
Her name is Yovanka Kennard.
Yovanka Kennard.
Or maybe it's Yovanka Justo. Or wait, maybe it's Yovanka Sanchez. Oh wait, it's actually Yovanka Manriquez.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know. She's got 4 different last names.
And worked for DCF and
she's worked for DCF in New
North
York,
Carolina.
North Carolina.
And all of a sudden she doesn't work there anymore. But,
No, and all of a sudden she's got charges out of the same county in North Carolina that she worked in. And then all of a sudden her husband divorced her, and then right away she met another guy and got married.
And there's another thing I want to talk about. You know, when I'm looking at the reports, a lot of it, you know, obviously a lot of it was hearsay. They don't really have proof. They're just making claims to take the child. But there was one claim that they allegedly spoke to a family member or somebody close.
right.
And they didn't put the name of that person in there, so for all we know, they made it up.
So we've talked to all his family and all our family. And to be honest with you, our families both think that there's something very wrong here, because nobody's called none of them.
Never heard of her before.
And never heard of her before until after she took our children. Now, she wrote this report before she took our children.
Within hours. So, and she goes in here to make claims about, you know, cocaine use and drug use.
And in and out of rehab.
I've never had a drug charge in my life.
Okay.
She can never prove this stuff for the life of her.
There's actually a post from before we were ever involved in this lady's life and this ever happened. There's actually a post from somebody on TikTok, and they've actually blasted this lady. And she says on there, they said to her the law. They said, you know, dependency, mental health, medical, vision, dental is the highest protected, or highest, is that a word? Protected documents on the planet. You can't just get those without anybody's consent of who it is. And she goes on there, she says, that's not true. I work for DCF down here in Florida, and I can get anything I want with a pen and a piece of paper. All I have to do is sign a piece of paper, and I'll get everything on somebody. But that's illegal. That's an invasion of privacy, I would think.
All right.
Yeah, bro.
All right, so go ahead and continue. You guys are talking about the corruption and everything.
I have to use the ladies' room. Hold on.
Yeah, so, I mean, ultimately, I mean, people need to realize that this isn't about families. This isn't about parents. This is all about money. And if you follow the money, you'll always have your answer. And what we're going to reveal is a section that's in every single document that Child Services produces, and they will never tell you what it is. You can go to the court, talk to them about it, but if you go to a law library and look it up, it'll clearly state that it's them taking charge as trustee, as your children as beneficiaries to get federal funding to fund their whole organization. So not only are they getting $50 billion a year, plus all these other fundings, plus they want us as parents to pay. I still pay child support as a non-offending parent for my daughter that I'm supposed to have in my custody over a year ago. I still pay. I still pay. As soon as my kids were taken out of my custody just now, I still pay. Now, they have all this money and they do all this, but they're not offering any funds to the people or the caregivers, or they're going to take money away from the parents or whatever to pay for that. But in the secret, they get this master trust fund they don't want anybody to know about. I think it's very important, and I think we should talk about this much more.
Explain it. What is it called?
DCF.
What is it called?
Huh?
What is it called? What is it called? Explain it for me.
Trust fund.
No, it's called the Master Trust Agreement.
The Master Trust Agreement. So it's an agreement that's usually made. So let's say
I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, so if me and my wife would have taken an attorney in this case, the attorney would have agreed to this Master Trust Agreement because he was the one who agrees to all contracts for us. The reason why they hate parents that don't take attorneys in this type of situation is because they can't have a Master Trust Agreement.
Okay, but hold on. So here's from the law library, okay? Now this is
word for word.
I'm just going to tell you what the chapter is, okay? It's chapter 737-303. If you go to the law library in Florida and you go to that book, 737-303 of Florida state statutes, it says duty to inform and account to beneficiaries. The trustees shall keep the beneficiaries of the trust reasonably informed of the trust and its administration. The trustees' duty to inform and account includes, but is not limited to, the following. Within 30 days after acceptance of the trust, the trustees shall inform the beneficiaries in writing of the acceptance of the trust and the full name and address of the trustee.
Mm-hmm.
A beneficiary is entitled to a trust accounting as set forth in section 3733035 annually and upon termination of the trust and upon change of the trust, except as provided under paragraph C. But anyways, I'm not going to go into reading the whole chapter.
Yeah,
this trust you're talking about, though, is this trust related to the Social Security Act?
Yes.
Why is it on my paperwork for my shelter order for my children?
Yes.
It says this is the shelter order. See, shelter order for my children, and on number.
This is what they want.
34. It says Master Trust Declaration, and that they're taking over the Master Trust Agreement.
This is their whole thing. This is how they get paid.
I went to DCF because it says that they are supposed to provide us. All parties are to be provided with the agreement.
They will never provide you with that because if they do, when they do, it exposes everything.
We went to the court. We asked the clerk of court for a copy of it because it says we're supposed to. She says, I don't know what you're talking about. So I go down to records and I asked records. We asked records. I want a copy of everything in our files. So we go through the whole file. There's no agreement in there. So they tell us, you got to get it from the people that filed the petition against you. I said, oh, DCF. She said, yes, exactly. I said, okay. I videotaped myself going into the Department of Children and Families building here where that lady works at. And her supervisor, Matthew, came out. And I told him, I need a copy of the Master Trust Agreement.
Right.
You see, the Master Trust Agreement, I don't know what you're talking about.
So you see the look on his face. How do they not know what we're talking about?
But it has
They're
nothing.
liars. They're professional liars.
But see, now, if this is, what's the reason why they took my children? They have no evidence of me doing my children harm, okay?
I'll tell you why.
Nothing.
Because if every parent in the
Nothing.
world,
They have nothing on me.
if every parent in the world had
Or-
access to a master trust agreement with their children, they can get money for their children every single month.
It says they're supposed to give us an allowance for our children.
And an allowance. This all
I read
has to
the
do.
whole chapter. I went to their law library and I read the whole chapter.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it states that whoever is trustee will get it in their own allowance, and whoever the beneficiaries are will have an allowance set aside.
Yep.
What does that mean to you? Why is it on my paperwork for order of custody of my children?
Yeah, man. And this is all about house.
And why doesn't anybody know? Somebody knows, but nobody knows.
Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, this all has to do with House Joint Resolution 192.
And
This is when every single American citizen, when we had to give our gold and land and money away, and where the United States was obligated to pay off the debt. I mean, this is all right here. I mean, this is why they have Social Security, and everything.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it. America's a corporation now.
Correct.
America's a corporation now, and that happened. I think it was like maybe around Lincoln's time with the reserve and the greenback and all that crap.
Right.
Or maybe a little bit before that. But now that we're a corporation, everybody's got a social security number, and you're a product.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely 100% correct. And the best way to prove that is to see how they handle children and how they handle.
They killed Lincoln right after he got the greenback.
The Emancipation Proclamation was.
You know what I mean? Because he was undermining the system.
That's right.
He was undermining the system. He saw a problem in the foreseeable future and told himself, look, if we do this for the people, it's a win-win.
Right.
But if we do something else and bring it in and give it to the people, that person controls the country now, because they care not about the people, they only care about the money.
Exactly. Yep. Allow me to control a nation's currency, and I care not who makes its laws. Rothschild.
Yeah, Rothschild. Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
How about Reagan? Reagan tried to tell
And
everybody.
even Reagan, this has been going on for so long, and it's in very rare circumstances.
Lincoln was executed.
Oh yeah, Lincoln. That's why we're just saying. That's why he was executed, because he agreed. Because we came up with this idea that we're going to use. Okay, so we'll use American sweat.
Our own money, no more debt.
Yeah.
Because Americans were all in debt. Look how much money.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like back to the vaccinations. I'm a strong believer in. I'm not with the vaccinations, okay? And I just want everybody to know that if we had no reason to go to the doctors, well, how would they make their money?
Let me ask you this question. This is probably a really good question. If citizens can come together for children in the near future, and we start attacking the problem with the money, because really, they're doing all this for money.
Of course.
So I mean, what's it going to come to? How do we get rid of the crimes? And the way I'm starting to look at it is something needs to happen with the money.
Yep.
Because the crimes will continue.
But people need to find out that the money is evil, and the only way we're going to do that is by using the children, because they're using children.
Who said money is the root of all evil?
For money. So I mean, the only way, I can tell you up and down, all around, about all I know about trust law and about money in general, about how evil it is, and about how we're so, in the system to where we're so.
Yeah, the banks are able to lend out 10 times more than they have
to certain people. Now I can
but
get
just the fact that they're able to do that should be a crime. You're lending out 10 times the amount that you do not have.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
If you did that, or I did that, we would be in federal prison.
Well, that's
Exactly.
That's because when they give you a loan, they already got paid for it.
They already got paid for. I mean, the IRS and everything. I mean, there's publication 1212, which is really big. Like, we'll talk about that later. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do about money. But the main thing I am with me and you is like the kids. And right here, this exploits it. This honestly shows proof, without a doubt, that these people have a monetary interest in our children.
Because here's the thing. I know, and my husband knows, and all of our family and friends knows, that everything they said in this document is bogus.
It's bogus.
Okay? They have no evidence or proof of anything they've said about me or my husband.
But they need
I know
this.
that from the bottom of my heart and soul because I've lived my life and he's lived his. They haven't. So unless you walked in our shoes, you would not know that everything in here is just false. It's just hearsay, right? I know they can't prove nothing against me.
That's right.
But the only thing in here that's a fact is that they're taking control of my children's trust.
That's what they're all about.
That's a fact.
That's ultimately what they're all about. And the funny thing is
But why did they had to take my children to get to the money?
after we proved that we're not drug addicts, we have no drugs in our system, that there's nothing they can prove.
They changed
Now
it
all
to
they
mental
do,
health.
all they do is they just go to like the caregivers and they make the caregivers sign money, sign contracts or sign papers.
Yeah, they're going to our
Every
friends'
single time they
house,
sign
making them sign papers.
Every single time the caregiver signs something, they're acting as if they're creating money out of thin air.
They've put the caregivers as trust of our children.
That's what they're attempting
And
to do.
so by using their signatures on paper, they're authorizing the department to use my children's trust.
You know what the funny part is, bro? Listen, it's the only spot out of all this where they make it in all capital letters.
Yeah.
Again, right there.
You see it?
Master Trust Agreement. It's almost like buying a car from a dealership and not reading the fine print. They just throw it in there. They just throw it in every single document.
You know what's more obvious than anything else to me that sticks out like a sore thumb is that when parents are fighting for kids, they're fighting for kids, and the government tries to paint them up and say they're bad, they're horrible, they're the worst parents ever, but we know that's a lie because you're fighting for your kids. And if you were the dirtbag they claim you are, you wouldn't be worried about those kids at all.
Exactly. And I actually, and sadly, okay, I know of a person that had the opportunity for the past year to fight for their daughter. And they chose to go the high road, okay? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to throw them under the bus. They know who they are. They had the opportunity. They still have an opportunity, but they still are choosing the high road, okay, over their children. But guess what? These people in DCF and in the courts keep giving that person chances. That's what's going on with the children that wind up dead.
They want to keep them. They want to keep them in the system.
They keep this person over here on drugs because they don't care.
They have to have your agreement. This is why it's called a trust agreement. Since us as a parent, the reason why we didn't get attorneys, if we would have had an attorney, we would have paid that attorney $5,000, $10,000. He would have got our kids back, but he would have been a part of that master trust agreement. They all would have got a piece of the pie.
But not us.
But not us.
Yet we lost all this funds because of this fraudulent case.
You know, they think we're stupid or something. It's like we're not dumb. Like parents.
You know the worst part? I don't get to hug my kids every day. Okay? My 3-month-old baby doesn't even know who we are yet. And that she's just starting to see. Okay? She's getting used to being around different people. In life, we choose our kids to not talk to strangers. Right now, my kid only knows I'm in strangers. Not home, not with your family, not with your mommy or daddy.
So right now, I kind of want to get to the end of the story, because I know the children are with your friend. The child is with your friend right now in another county, and CPS, or excuse me, CPI, they're trying to take the child and put the child in foster home.
Here in Florida, it's called DCF, Department of Children and Families.
No, CPS, still
Child Protective Services, but they're through the Department of Children and Families.
Right.
It's here on it says it on the first page of the shelter order.
And it's all around the world. The
And
same master trust is all around the world. I don't care if you're in Greece. They have the
It is.
same.
He's
They have
right.
the same trick all over the planet.
But what was I saying? Department
So
of
they're trying to take the child and put the child in foster home.
Yes, so where our children are at right now, it's getting hard on their jobs because since my kids have been there, they're okay. So my daughter cries every day. They say stress weakens your immune system. So now she's going into these daycares and she got sick. She got pink eye. She had a gash on her eye. She's having nightmares every night. I'm getting videos of my kids screaming in her sleep, talking about get away from me, get out of here, help me, and my daughter's never had any kinds of nightmares. Like once in a while, my kid will cry in her sleep, but don't we all?
So in other words, the child's starting to act out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my she's even telling us on the phone, I don't know what's going on.
Now, she told my wife 5 days after we were separated, she said, "Mommy, what's going on?" Like a grown-up. Looked at her straight in the eye on the phone, "What's going on?" Like straight up tell me. We've always been really honest with our kids.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So then she turns around and tells my grandmother, or her grandmother, my mom, on the phone. She says, "Grandma, I'm going for a long ride with my sister. When I get there, I'll give you a call."
I know how to do that.
I know how to do that.
I can do that. And she hasn't been able to do that because she's young, but she feels like she could.
And we've only seen her one time since they've been taken.
And
I've been here. I've been basically trying to camp out right out in front of everywhere they go because I'm not used to I just don't trust these people. Not where they're at. I just don't trust these DCF people not to go and just barge in their house and take my kids. I never see them again.
DCF went to my brother-in-law's when they dropped them off and made claims that the investigators had a report that I was holding a gun to my head, my wife's head, in front of my blonde daughter.
Our kids have dark brown hair.
And I'm like, where's this report? And I was like, I told their brother, and I told my best friend or whatever. I was like, ask them for the report. Guess what? Here we are months later. Nothing.
There is no report. They said.
But they go there. They go there and they scare our caregivers.
Yeah.
Into thinking that we're these horrible people. And if they make mistakes, sign this contract.
They're gonna.
And if you do this or that,
too.
you'll have to take your kids too. Like seriously.
They're
$100,000 houses, $4,000 houses doing this.
It kind of reminds me of like a person that lives in a bad neighborhood compared to a good neighborhood. You live in the bad neighborhood and the cops, man, they just keep coming. They won't stop messing with you, man. And as soon as you move into the suburbs, you don't even see any cops.
That's why I'm telling you there's something going on here because our family and friends have, and us, we all have big houses.
Well, good backgrounds. Like we don't have no problems. Like
my sister, she's a paralegal in this field, family law.
Yeah.
She cannot believe what is going on.
I mean, we've all grown up. We've all seen the same things. We've all hung out with the same crowds and, did our dirt or whatever in our life. But it's like,
But we
we
didn't have
never did.
kids.
you know,
You know,
and as kids, you grew up.
You know what's obvious too? What's really obvious is when you look around at the people, the citizens that are getting their children took. None of these people are prominent. None of them work for the government. None of them are rich. You know,
Right.
what I mean? So it's very revealing that they're attacking people who don't have the means to even protect their rights.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're middle class, they'll take all the money you have, and they'll just string you along, and and you're paying your college off, you're paying your bills, you're raising a family, and they just string you along, and it's like, for what?
And the way I feel how it is nowadays is for citizens like you that have this problem, like a lot of other people, you literally have to start some kind of a movement, even if it's small, because how else are we supposed to engage this is a social problem, and if we don't attack it socially, it'll never go nowhere.
Absolutely. You're right.
You know, I think the reason why everything ran smoothly 50 years ago is because people stuck together. Now everybody's been scared to
Black,
divide.
white, everybody stuck together so good, and they didn't like that, so they had to come up with another way, and they always come up with these ways.
They're literally trying to divide everybody.
They're very intelligent. They come up with these ways to divide people, so that way people don't pay attention to what's happening to them, because if it's happening to my neighbor, it's going to happen to me, and vice versa. But we live in a world now where somebody looks out the door and sees something happening to a neighbor, like, close the blinds.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what
or they'll just record it with the phone and that's it.
Yeah, listen, I don't know what racism is. I grew up with everybody of every different nationality here in South Florida. Okay? And my husband, him as well, but yet they're making this huge thing to divide everybody by color again. And it's like, this is insane. Like, we're all, it didn't say we the people of separate colors. It said we the people. And that's all of us. They're taking all of our babies. They're taking all of
they're
it's all an elaborate scheme, man. Like, even like I tell people, like this whole immigration problem is nothing compared to the DCF problem. These people literally have the capability of saying whatever they want and destroying families at every single level. Doesn't matter how much money you have, what color you are, whether you did it or didn't do it. They just come in here and they just write up a freaking piece of paper and they send it to a judge, and they got an 80% chance, 88% chance of a judge signing it, as opposed to a grandmother who is witnessing, let's say, her grandkids or her kids being abused or whatever. They'll do an investigation and they'll say whether or not even happens. Like, there's this long thing that goes on and draws out. This woman, literally within hours of never meeting us,
had custody of
her children, and a judge just signed our custody away without ever having
any evidence,
without even past issues,
without a court, without a police report,
without a police report,
a charge,
nothing.
It's starting to become more. It's more and more obvious that when they take a child, usually you would think there has to be law applied. You can't just take a child, and so now we're at the point where we're really visualizing it beyond a reasonable doubt. Hey, look, it's happening.
They took 2.
Yeah, they didn't even know about the second one. But as soon as they found the second one, well, we found yet another one. Gonna take that too. Are you kidding me?
Right.
It's unbelievable, man.
In any of these reports, does it say nothing about my daughter Natalia?
They don't mention anything, man.
It doesn't. When they came to my house, they took all the children.
The police reports don't even mention any abuse towards the children. None. They just mentioned one child during an altercation.
And he was asked the question if he thought I was harming my children. He said, due to the circumstances of my mental health, he could not say if she was or wasn't.
So she decided to write a report saying, well,
She said she was.
blah, 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 blah. I mean, she just went off the rocket.
She
And
went
then when I
right
asked
off
her-
the rocket.
And then when I asked her, I'm like, okay, did you write this report? She finally broke down. She's like, I didn't write the whole report. I'm like, so why would you?
She only wrote the
I'm like,
first
how can you
paragraph.
write an affidavit swearing
She
and
said her
affirming
second and third paragraph was wrote by her supervisor.
by her supervisor?
The second paragraph says that I went to the hospital on the on the night of the incident, which they said was the 18th, and I was discharged on the 19th, and I did not seek more mental evaluations, and that I took my kids and I ran. But I have a doctor's note, I believe I sent it to you, that states I was in there from the 18th to the 21st.
She completely made it up, man.
She made it up. She said I was hiding out in my house and that she didn't know where we lived, yet she came right to our house and took our kids out of her bed. She didn't. I'm sorry. The coward didn't come to my house. The coward didn't call me. And the coward, she should be coward protective investigator. Okay? Because this coward, Kennard, Yovanka, whatever her name is, decided she was going to sit there and send some other county sheriffs and some other county CPI and try to put them in the middle of something they didn't even create.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the people that are watching?
Yeah, fight for your children. Don't just let them come in your house and take your children. And if you know you didn't do anything wrong, say it loud and proud. Like let people see who these people really are. If you sit down and you don't say nothing, you're basically covering up their bullshit, okay, and their lies. You're letting them go in other people's houses and take more children. You're part of the problem. If you stand up and you fight for your children, if you really love your children, then don't let these people steal them, okay? And if they do steal them because they come in and use sheriffs with guns and stuff against you, then let's make videos. Tell the people the truth. Let's everybody tell your story.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to be here.
We're all going to be here with you.
We're not going anywhere.
I'm with you.
If I was willing to just bow down and allow this woman to say whatever the heck she wants to say and let her lie and follow and get a lawyer and follow the case plan and she gets to walk away at 32 years old. I'm 36 years old with kids.
Here's the crazy part.
If I was just allow her to do this, then she would do it to everybody.
She's off the case. They took her off the case. So now you got this lady that went and made these accusations about us, and now she's not even part of the case anymore.
Long gone.
So the one person that said all this stuff about us has nothing to do with our case anymore.
And they
They do that. They do that with lawyers, judges. They do that with everybody sometimes.
But they don't know us. None of these people have met us. How has these people got a case against us and they've never even met us? None of them.
No home assessment. It says right here they assessed the house.
It says they assessed our home and they never came to our home. They went to our friend's house in that county, stood outside in her driveway, and said that they assessed her house as our house. And her house is a beautiful house, okay? And they sat there and they said that, here, the exact words were...
Assess the home.
Hold on.
Doesn't give an address, because she didn't know the address. But since she didn't know the address, she had to file a missing persons report on my children. Then she so magically finds out where my real address is in Seminole County.
It says the appraisal of the home situation indicated of substantial and immediate danger to the child's physical, mental, and emotional health and safety, which could not be mitigated by the provisions of preventative services. The home is not calm and consistent enough for an in-home safety plan to be implemented. The department has made reasonable efforts to prevent removal. Bullshit! This never happened.
I looked it up.
Came to my home.
I look it up on a DCF records. It's cut and paste. They might as well just copy and paste it on to another affidavit.
They never came to our home.
They don't go to. You have to.
If we had these people audited, they use the same third paragraph.
Same paragraph over and over and over again until somebody makes them accountable for it. You can't have an
Yeah,
affidavit perjurized.
unless they have proof like actual video, then like they're screwed if you take them to court.
We're already taking them to court.
Listen, in the
I mean like suing them for that perjured report. That's a perjured report.
This woman individually, I tell you why. Because if I try to sue DCF, if you look up Chapter 39, all the statements she made are admissible as evidence in court. So they coddle her the whole way. So if I go to try to sue DCF, I'm going the wrong route. So I have to sue her for defamation of character.
So
privately.
So I had to evaluate what he said and research it myself, just so everybody knows. If you go and look at the petitioner, so to have a case against somebody, there's a petitioner and then there's a respondent. Okay, this is civil court. Family law is civil court. So they use not defendants and plaintiffs. They use petitioner and respondent. We are the respondent. Actually, my children
our children
are
the respondent. They're being sued.
Look. So on this paper, it doesn't say mine or my husband's name. Okay, it says my kids' names. Okay, and so when we went and looked up the parties involved in the case, the parties are actually Yovanka Kennard versus my child,
Tilly
and Natalia.
And they say she has the right. They have the right to object.
Yeah, they have the right to go to the courthouse and object.
And my 3-month-old have the right to object. So you're suing minors. This is what they're doing in this court. This is what they just done. By suing parents that don't have a record, that don't have a charge, you're suing the children.
It's on their documents.
It says it right there. It says they have the right to object. They have the right to object. So my 3-month-old is going to go and object to court?
What is she going to say? Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I mean, no likely. Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, independency, it's a little different, though, because CPS can come, lawyers can come, you know, and it's all the same stuff. It's a circus.
It is a circus.
That's exactly what it is.
And the more we expose the circus, you know, the quicker the Ringling Brothers will have to retire. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean, okay? And you know,
if not, they're going to get in big trouble.
You know what else I have to say to everybody? If they think that they're alone and they can't do it because they have no support, I'm here to support them, okay? I'm here to support them. Like, you can give me a call, you can give me a ring.
We've already done this.
Okay? I will stand with them to fight for their children. I don't have to know them. I just know that they're a parent to a child that is being corruptly handled in a manner that should have never happened.
I've read Chapter 39 back to back. I'm actually suing the investigator personally for defamation of character. And I've already talked to the state. They're like, dude, you're brilliant. Why go after DC? All I have to do is prove that she's lied, sue her for defamation, get her to prove her allegations and documentation, not suing her for what she did with DCF, suing her upon her character for what she wrote about me. This is a whole nother avenue that people are like missing out on.
Like, she's literally using the parents' defamation to sue my children.
Yeah. This whole thing right here is like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago. She never puts what actually happened.
No, she just puts in the anonymous calls. Like, why wouldn't you, as a CPI worker that's supposed to investigate whether a child's being abused or not, find something out and make sure that you write the outcome of that situation? Like, you can't just say, that's like saying, okay, somebody got away with murder, and we can never go back on that because they got tried by jury and they were found innocent. They can never be used again, right? But here, years down the road, somebody says, oh, I'm going to get this person because they were tried for murder. But they didn't say that they were already found innocent.
Yeah. So literally, this whole
thing. Does that make sense?
And I have a 96-page document made through a home study as a non-offending parent. I had Adam Walsh's background checks,
yes. She
fingerprints,
actually says it.
everything a month before.
Wait.
She's mentioning documents. She's mentioning things in this document that has already been disproved
No.
by DCF himself.
What he's saying is, she said that she had no idea where we live, remember?
There's my
Okay.
address.
Yeah, she says that she talked to the caseworker in my husband's case out of Duval County and doesn't put that he's the non-offending parent. Basically makes it sound like he's got a dependency case
With
in
my
Duval
child as an
County with
unoffending
his other
parent.
children. His other children doesn't put that he's a non-offending parent. And it says it was found there was recently a home study completed on the father at a home in Seminole County in a dependency case. No. We had a home study done because we just traveled across America to get his daughter, who was found in a home where her mother OD'd on drugs. So naturally, the daughter goes to the father, correct? No, DCF took that baby and put her with her grandmother, and now she's being mentally abused, being told that her father beats and rapes and all this other stuff to her
Now
mother.
they got this dad into it.
And it never happened. He proved it.
Right.
$30,000 later, and a year later, in a state I don't even want to be
We're
in.
involved in 2 cases now that we've done nothing wrong in, and they will not give us our children.
You know, this is why I like to encourage people, not only with the lawsuits but protesting, because you see the government, they're so secret and hush hush. They're not going to come together and come protest you. They're abusing you. Why do they need to protest? So that's why it's important for us to come together and go protest them, because that's our opportunity right there to public shame them, to name drop, and to bring exposure to it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I really wanted to run for U.S. Senate this year, and it's like, you know, that was my ultimate goal, and that why I wanted to is just to do this so I can open up class action lawsuits against, you know, government agencies and everything, having that U.S. Senate background and talking with people and opening up these class action laws, make these people held accountable, you know, and it's like they knew I was going to do it or something.
Yeah, I mean, the more you come out and the more you're passionate about it, you know, say less, because people will be seeing it. They see it themselves, you know, and they want to be a part of it. So yeah, I definitely encourage that, and you know, I can't wait to you know, update the community again, find out what's going on with the case. You know, I'd like to tell the viewers to please share this video. You know, get the information out. There's too many victims. A lot of kids they're being took. You know, it's horrible. Parents are going through too much. A lot of drama, a lot of stress, and we need to come together as America. We need to be united, because it is called United States. It is not called separate states.
True. Yeah, we appreciate you, Isaac.
All right. Well, thank you for joining Advocate Television, Crimes Against Children, and we'll be advocating this case shortly. We'll be informing the public on what's going on and how to engage with this case to help you out and help your child. So, you know, I thank you for coming on, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right,
Yep,
sounds
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All right.
Yeah, we're here.
All right.